On today's show, we're going to look at the mess that Toyota has on their hands with the 4Runner versus the Land Cruiser. And you're probably going, what kind of mess could they have? Well, the Land Cruiser is back, and it seems to be taking on the role that the 4Runner has. And people they're scratching their heads with Toyota, and they do not understand what is going on. And I think there's a good reason for that. I think Toyota, they have a plan. There's no worries about that. But if we start looking at price points, what the new Land Cruiser is going to be, and then you're like, we can take a look at where the 4Runner currently sits. I think there is a problem. So let's do this right now. If you're new to my channel, my name is David Boyd. I'm an auto journalist and I love all things off-road SUVs. So I want to bring this up. I want to add this to the screen. So we'll do it right there. And this is Toyota's press release of their 2024 Land Cruiser. Now we do know for some time, we've known that there's not going to be a 4Runner till the brand new 4Runner till 2025. So Toyota's filling the gaps a little bit, and they want to reintroduce the Land Cruiser to the U.S. market. Now, the Land Cruiser, even though it's got a lot of heritage around off-road, it's never been a popular selling vehicle to the United States. Now, globally, the thing that it's a well-versed vehicle globally. There's a market for this. There's a reason for this. But as far as the United States, it played in a strange market here. And then Toyota brings in the Sequoia, which is relatively the same size, not as capable as the Land Cruiser, and it just muddied the waters even more. And I think if you're a Toyota loyalist, it kind of muddied the waters of like, which do I need? Do I need the more affordable Sequoia, or do I want the most capable, maybe less tech-oriented Land Cruiser? Well, Toyota solved that problem with this press release you see right here, and we'll just hint on this for a little bit because I think this right here is going to play a large role into what we're talking about. So it says Toyota's longest running nameplate returns to its North American market after 3 years hiatus. The stay true to its heritage and durable off-roader, more accessible MSRP in the mid 50s versus the $92,000 to $100,000 price range that the previous generation costs. So yes, a lot more affordable there, and you're getting a smaller engine. Now, I've seen people complain already about why are they not putting a V8 in this thing, and why did they go with such a puny four-cylinder? Well, think about this. The new vehicle, and I'll show it right here again, this is more of an upper mid-size vehicle. It's no longer a full-size Land Cruiser, which I have to say, I thank you, Toyota, for that, because it was just getting to be, a land yacht and not a serviceable to let me take you out and adventure in land yacht. It was just too big. I will say the current 4Runner, if we're going to debate these two, is a little bit small in today's market share. So maybe the market's pushing just slightly bigger, but not full size. So this thing is going to get the 2.4 liter hybrid powertrain, the iForce Max engine. And it's a good engine. I have yet to do any time. Well, really nobody's done any time in this thing yet, but I have done a lot of time in the Tundra with the iForce Max, the twin turbo V6. And that thing is badass and feels like a V8. So I have to think that these 4 cylinders are going to feel like a very nice 6 cylinder. So that's kind of what Toyota's doing with their hybrid technology. It's not about fuel economy. It's about bringing the horsepower numbers back to where it needs to be. You're lowering the emissions by removing cylinders, and everybody's happy for a minute anyways. It's not an EV. So just thank God it's not an EV. So they're going to bring in 3 different models, really 2 different models. You're going to get the 1958, which is your more bare bones, even though this thing is not bare bones, but you're still getting a lot of features. You're going to get a rear locker. You're going to get the lockable center diff. You're getting a lot of features with this thing, and you're getting some cool tech, nice big screens. And then, you want to go up to the Land Cruiser. I don't know what they're thinking with that name, but you're getting into the normal Land Cruiser. You're going to get different headlights. You're going to get more of the traditional square lights of the previous generations, and it's going to be a nice vehicle. The biggest thing that I took from this was, and I think a lot of people did, was this mid $50,000 price tag. Now, when I think mid 50s, I'm already at 55, 56, 57. That's, it's upper 50s is where this thing's going to be. And then when you tack on how their dealers, because Toyota dealerships shown through the pandemic, they will F you in a heartbeat. The dealerships for Toyota have such a bad name, and it's because Toyota has such a good quality name that the dealerships were able to, well, kind of screw their customers. And I have a local in here that I'd probably never do business with because of that. Go to their dealership, everything's just still to this day over MSRP, and they sit for quite a while. Anyway, so let's get back into this. So I want to bring into this this picture the current 4Runners. You can see here, this is the 2023 4Runner. It's an SR5 shown right there. Starts at $40,155. Now, This is more of a, it's a more bare bones. Obviously, the tech's not going to be there because this is still, it's an old generation of this vehicle. This vehicle really hasn't changed much since what, 2009, 10, somewhere in there. It's been had slight refreshes. The headlights and stuff have been refreshed a little bit of the tech, but the last one I reviewed, you put into the reverse camera in, and it looked like something from my first NES. It looked like Mario Brothers. Like, it was very digital, just a bad tech in this thing. And we know Toyota, they will refresh this with the next generation of this. I wanted to get into, if you look at the pricing of this thing. So we got the SR that starts at 40. Now, these are probably two-wheel drives, by the way. This is not four-wheel drive pricing. But then you go into the TRD Sport for 43, the SR5 Premium for 43 too, a TRD off-road, and then you get into, if you want the bad boys, you get down here in the limited and the TRD Pro. And what does this say already? $54,620. That's a lot of money for such an old, outdated SUV. And then when you go to back to the Land Cruiser, it says mid 50s, a lot better tech, a lot better, more refined vehicle. It's going to be built on their newer platform, where this vehicle still is built on the old platform. But what bothers me with all this is we know in 2025 there will be a Toyota 4Runner refresh. There's going to be a next generation of this thing. And where does, if the TRD Pro now, which you get a rear locker in and you do get some cool features, but if that's already mid 50s, in an older version, the Land Cruiser's dipping down, kind of down. It's getting into that territory. And what does that say for the future of the Forerunner? Because, well, you say here, the Forerunner in America has a lot of heritage. This is the vehicle that you want. This has been the best selling kind of body on frame SUV for a long time. Other brands like Nissan, they took the Xterra away, Pathfinder, they've neutered the Pathfinder and made it in more of a soccer mom daily driver. And this is kind of the last version of something badass. So does Toyota take the next Forerunner and sort of neuter it slightly? Do they go down the path of where Nissan did with the heritage name of Pathfinder, and you take the Forerunner and kind of make it a mall crawler? I don't see that at all. I think that Toyota is, what they are going to do, though, is limit the tech of the next Forerunner, and, well, it'll still be capable, but they're going to want to push you into the next price point of the Land Cruiser. Land Cruiser, they didn't bring that name back to the United States to sell 5 or 6,000 of these a year. They brought that nameplate back. They have the first edition that they're going to sell. They're limiting that to 5,000 vehicles for the United States. And that means they expect to sell a lot of this vehicle. So they're looking for, they would like to sell 70, 80, 100,000 of these a year. And that's going to take away from Forerunner sales once again. So I think the way they say Forerunner is bring it back to its roots a little bit. The mid 80s, when this thing came out, all the way through the 90s, early 2000s, it wasn't about tech. It was about, hey, I just need a vehicle to get me to my campsite. I just need a vehicle, an honest, true off-road vehicle that does what I ask it to do. And I think that's where Toyota is going to take the next Forerunner. Now, I'm going to throw up, you look up here, I'm going to throw up what renditions we think the next one might look like. I think you can look to Sequoia and be like, okay, yeah, I think that's where this vehicle might go. But in the comments below, I'm going to ask you two questions. All right, number one, we're going to say, where do you think the price point for the next Forerunner is going to be? Leave me a comment. I'm curious about this. Do you think that it's going to be where it's at now? Do you think the current version, that from 40s to 55 to, by time taxes, it's almost 60,000? Do you think that it stays there and then the Land Cruiser then battle? Or do you think that it goes back to its roots and they make more of an honest vehicle? I personally would like to see roll-up windows come back in something like this. I've begged Nissan for a long time, hey, please bring us an Xterra, everything you need, nothing you don't, for the Nissan brand. Toyota may need to do that with the Forerunner to sell a lot of those still, and hopefully they do, and hopefully, well, it's going to be Toyota quality, so we know this thing's going to be badass. So whether it be two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or these these badass Forerunners that I like to drive, this has been your All Terrain Nation. I'm your host, David Boyd, and we're out. Peace, everybody. Love y'all.